Wow, what an exciting event this morning. I'm here to tell you, first and foremost, that life's not complicated. The situations you're in aren't as complicated as you think they are. The problems you're trying to solve aren't as complicated as you think as they are. And the reason I know that is because of an epiphany I had when I was about 12 years old. In our house, my dad was a huge Star Trek fan. Growing up, and when my dad's a fan, you know, all of us are a fan. The family was a Star Trek family, and the old Star Trek, James T. Kirk, Mr. Spock. As a consequence of that, he was always trying to master the Vulcan death grip. We practiced that on each other all the time. He practiced it on us, we practiced it on him, and it was a game. By the time I'm 12 years old, he mastered this Vulcan death grip. And I know that because I came home from school one day and was ready to do my normal routine, which was drop my bags off, grab a quick snack, run out to the alley, and play ball with the boys. We had this standing routine. We played baseball with a stick and a tennis ball in the backyard, and that was just kind of what we did. And this day, I walked in the house, I put my bag down, and I headed toward the kitchen to grab my quick snack, and my mom was there waiting for me. And I immediately know, okay, this is out of the ordinary a little bit. And before I could even take another step in the house, she started with, you forgot to make your bed this morning, you didn't do your chores before you left for school, you didn't straighten out your room, and oh, by the way, you didn't take the trash out, and taking the trash out was a big deal. Tuesday was trash day, and I know this was a Tuesday because when we didn't take our trash out, the trash was on my bed when I got home from school, just so that I wouldn't forget next Tuesday to take it out again. So I'm thinking already my day is going downhill really quick. It's like I can't play ball, I've got work to do. The punishment in the house a lot of times was having to do dishes. So now I know I've got to do dishes, I've got to clean my room, make my bed. The trash is going to be there all week. And my day that I was looking forward to is going downhill really quick. And I'm 12 years old, I'm important. I've got people to see, places to go, things to do. The boys are waiting for me in the backyard kind of thing. And so I was out of frustration, kind of did something that I shouldn't have done in my dad's house. And that was kind of did the whatever sign to my mom. Yeah, you got it. You know, I raised my hand and kind of just took 2 steps towards my bedroom to either ignore or go sulk. I don't know what I was going to do, but what I was not aware of on that particular day is that my dad was home. My dad was never home after school. He was always still at the office. But today, not aware of my environment, he was home, and he was in the kitchen, and he overheard this entire exchange. And before I could get 2 steps towards my bedroom, my dad, who was a big guy, moved faster than I ever seen anybody move in my life. I mean, so quick that even my own cat-like reflexes could not evade his frontal assault. And so he comes to me, and having perfected this Vulcan death grip, immediately applies the Vulcan death grip. And there's no hunting around. He didn't have to move over and try to find it. He knew exactly where to go and exactly what spot it was, and he nailed it instantly on the first time. And I started feeling right away, my arm starting to go numb, you know, that little twitch, my legs starting to twitch. I feel like I'm absolutely losing control. I'm about to go into the Vulcan death zone here. And I'm shaking and rattling. He's got me, and very calm. He wasn't mad. He wasn't angry. He wasn't upset. He just walked me over to the wall, leaned me up against the wall, got down in my face, 2 inches from my nose, eyeball to eyeball, didn't scream, didn't yell. In a very calm, cool voice, he says, "Don't you ever talk to my wife like that again." That blew my mind because I remember thinking, holy crap, he didn't say mom. Today was different. This was different. He just changed the rules on me. He just changed this relationship that I thought I understood with this person. He threw a curveball completely at me, and my mind was like leaking out of my ears onto the floor. You know, and as I'm searching around the floor to find the pieces of my brain that are falling apart, he says, "If you ever talk to her like that again, we'll kill you. And no one will ever know you're gone. Because we can make another one that looks just like you." And, so that was my dad's sense of humor, trying to maybe bring some little brevity to the moment there. But I missed that part because all I was hearing in my brain was echoing like the Grand Canyon, my wife, my wife, my wife. He didn't say mom. He didn't say mom. He didn't say mom. What's different? Something has changed. This isn't right. I'm recomputing this whole thing. And later that evening and weeks later, that moment, that really changed the way I begin to perceive things around me. And I don't know how and if it was intentional, just one of those moments that we have. We call them watershed moments kinds of a thing. And that happened. And I remember weeks and months and years later replaying and rehearsing this in my mind. And every time my mind would get more and more, explode more and more. Because I remember thinking, if the situation played out the same way and it was my grandfather that was home, he would have said, don't talk to my daughter like that. If it was my uncle that was here and the situation played out the same, he would have said, don't talk to my sister like that. And if the neighbor lady was over, her name was Pam, if she was over, she would have said, don't talk to my friend like that. And every time, and I'm sitting back watching this person who I related to as mom, one-dimensional, one way. I only had context for this relationship here. All of a sudden, having all these other ideas entered in and realizing that her momness can't be separated from her wifeness. Her wifeness influences her sisterness and all the different identity pieces of the complexity of that. It can't be separated out. It can't be separated apart. It's part of who that is, and that changed the way I begin to look at world and problem. And I didn't know what I was thinking, and I didn't know what I was coming to until years later, I came across this quote when I was in school. A pilot must of necessity pay attention to the seasons, the heavens, the stars, the winds, and everything proper to the craft if he is to really master the ship. Plato said that. And I remember reading that in my course of study and thinking, that's what my dad taught me. That's what my dad taught me. He didn't know he would teach me that. I don't know that he ever read Play-Doh, but in how he lived his life and how he thought about the world that he managed, he taught me that. Listen, if I'm going to do this thing, if I want to master my ship, if I want to get to where I need to be, if I want to go to where I want to go, if I want to be the person that I really want to be, I've got to pay attention to what's going on around me. I've got to look and see what's really happening all around, because it's not enough to put blinders on and trudge straight forward and not pay attention to the periphery. We have to learn to pay attention to what's going on around us and the periphery. And this is what Plato is saying, and this is what my dad was saying to me. He's like, son, listen, you're making a cardinal mistake here. You think this woman is just your mom, but she's not. She's my wife, and how you relate to her doesn't just affect this thing with you and her, it affects me. And I've got a say in how this thing's going to go. And if you miss that, and if you don't pay attention to that, you're going to make some serious mistakes, and you're going to end up not getting to where you need to be in life. You need to pay attention to this. So I'm thinking about this is coming in. I'm having these memories and all these things, and Grandpa saying, daughter and all, and I'm just like, wow, this is all starting to come together for me. And I realize, how can I really teach this to other people? And I write about this in my book. I teach this idea of complexity because what I'm telling you is life's not complicated. It's complex. And there's a difference, a big difference that we have to get. The difference is, in a complex world, things are interrelated together. They can't be separated apart. Imagine I have two balls of Play-Doh, one yellow and one blue. And I take these different balls of Play-Doh and I begin to mash them together and mash them together and mash them together. In a few minutes, I'm going to have a larger green ball of Play-Doh. Now, what's interesting about that is all the blue Play-Doh is still there, hasn't changed. All the yellow Play-Doh is still there, but they're integrated together. And I can't say to you, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I forgot. I need that blue Play-Doh back here. Can you give me this blue Play-Doh back? Can you take the blue Play-Doh out so I can take it back to the store and use it or take it back to my kid's school for an art project or something? Can't be done, can it? It's integrated. It's become something completely integrated together. The blue Play-Doh, again, it's all still there. Yellow's all still there, but now it's something different that can't be separated apart. That's what my dad was trying to teach me. Son, life is like Play-Doh. And that's what I want to teach you. That's my big idea we're spreading. Life is like Play-Doh, and we've got to begin to understand that we can't navigate life. We can't master that ship that Play-Doh was talking about if we isolate and focus in only on one thing. So I asked myself, all right, I've got to make this shift. How can I personally make this mental shift from a complicated world where we problem solve like like life is a car engine. If the carburetor's broke, take the carburetor out. Everything else stays the way it is. It's not affected. Get a new carburetor, put it back in, fix the problem. Life's not like that car engine. Life can't be isolated and separated. The pieces aren't like that. They're melted together. They're integrated like Play-Doh. So how can I make this switch? Well, you've got to get a different lens through which you see the world. And I want to submit to you that lens that I believe it is called three-dimensional thinking. 3D thinking is the lens through which we need to begin to perceive what's going on around us. What that means, the three dimensions I'm referring to, is the three dimensions of time: past, present, and future, or what I call hindsight, insight, and foresight. We have got to learn to leverage this idea of using the past, because we have to honor and recognize the past. Understanding what's going on right now in the present moment, because that's where life's really happening. Everything else is just a figment of your imagination, the future and the past. And then we also have to anticipate tomorrow, foresight. We've got to have a vision of the future. And you have to have all three working together simultaneously to get what you need. You can't just default to the past. You can't just know your vision for your organization. It's more than that. So I'm thinking, well, how can I teach that? And what I remembered is, as I've done seminars, I've done like thousands of these in 5 different continents now, and it's been really interesting. I do the same survey everywhere I go. I ask the people, where are you at, and what are you doing when you have your best, most creative ideas? I've asked that to literally thousands of people, and every single time I get one of these 4 responses. I'm in the shower. I'm on the toilet. That's the big one. That's number 1, by the way. I didn't want to put it first, though. I'm falling asleep, getting ready to nod off and fall asleep, or I'm on a jog or a long walk. Okay, every once in a while, somebody will throw in a long drive. But I always get these 4. Never once, this blew my mind, never once in thousands of people I've asked has anyone said at the office. Never once has anyone told me when my employer's paying me to solve a problem, when I'm being paid or expected to have a good idea, when I'm in a committee meeting. Never. Nobody. Thousands of people, nobody ever. And based on your response, probably the same. And I begin to wonder, what's going on here that we're having these great ideas, and it's dawned on me, they're thinking in 3 dimensions. Step outside for a moment. Go back to one of these times when you've had your great idea. Step outside and watch yourself in that moment and watch what your brain is doing. You're jumping all over past, present, future. You're thinking about what you need to do that day, which reminds you of something that you did yesterday, which reminds you of a memory that you had when you were a kid. The memory of a kid reminds you of a vacation you had, and something Grandpa said. The vacation that you had reminds you of the vacation you want to take next year. So now you're thinking about the future. Next year, I want to take this vacation. You can't take the vacation because you don't have any money yet, which is why you're working, so you're back to the present. Then you're like thinking of the vacation again, and savings comes in. Well, we couldn't take it because I don't have the money to take the vacation yet, so we're trying to save it. Not having the money reminds you of your retirement. You are back and forth, past, present, future, boom, boom, boom. And in the middle of that, bam, this great idea strikes you. And when I ask people, well, what are you thinking about when you have these great moments? They always say nothing, and the answer is wrong. No, you're not thinking about nothing. You're thinking about everything. And that's the answer. This 3-dimensional thinking. We're all over the place, and when we come out of that moment and we go back to the office or we get in the car, whatever we do, we try to remember, oh, what was that idea? Oh, it was such a great idea. Oh, what was it? And we can't come up with it again, can we? Why? Because we've now switched out of the green Play-Doh. And we've come back to this idea of, I'm trying to separate the blue. I'm going to work. I got to put on my blue Play-Doh hat. And we isolate ourselves within this context, and we're robbing ourselves of all the different experiences that we've had that can give us insight to what we need to do. That's 3-dimensional thinking. Mark Twain said, I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. What I learned that day and what I've been learning is it wasn't my graduate studies in complexity that taught me that lesson. It was what my dad taught me that day, just living life, when he said, son, if you ever do that again, I'll kill you. And nobody will know you're gone because we can make another one that looks just like you. We have to reframe what we think about intelligence and how we come up with ideas and how we problem solve. The world's not complicated, it's complex. And to do that, we need to start thinking in a three-dimensional context. Thank you very much.